In your self-development journey, you're bound to come across people who either don't believe in you or who still perceive you as the old version of yourself. And it can be very hurtful to experience that because you've worked so hard through the years to let go of limiting beliefs, to let go of behaviors that didn't serve you anymore, or behaviors that were just unhealthy, either towards yourself or towards others. And you've worked really hard. You've seen yourself do the work. You know that you have done the work to become a better person and to become a healthier person. And to have somebody come up to you and not necessarily tell you word for word that they believe that you haven't evolved, but through their actions and through what they're saying, it's very clear that they don't believe that you've grown, and they absolutely still perceive you as the old version of you, as the old version of you that was acting out of a lot of trauma and acting out of a lot of unhealthy behaviors. And when you're working so hard to evolve and to grow, it can be very important to have that work recognized to people, to, well, and not only I believe that it's still an important part of the process to recognize that you have grown, but it's also a desire that we have. Even though we know that's not why we do self-development, for example, we still want to be seen. We want people to recognize that we have grown and we have done all of the work, because it's a lot of work and it's hard work. But the thing that you need to understand is that you have to be the one that recognizes that, and nobody else is going to do it for you. And some people sometimes do recognize that, but not everybody is going to see your work and recognize that you have done the work to better yourself. So that's why you need to be the one to do that. You need to recognize your own growth. And whether or not somebody recognizes your growth should be a bonus. It shouldn't really matter so much because you already recognize it. But it is understandable that, of course, somebody who does the opposite, who very clearly recognizes the opposite as if you haven't grown, it is very hurtful. It can be very triggering. And when it happens, it can seem like such an obstacle. It can seem like something that is so frustrating, but know that it's still, in a way, part of the process, and it's still an experience that you can absolutely learn from. When it happens, when somebody is clearly, very clearly, like I said, through their words and through their actions, they're very clearly still perceiving you as the old version of you, observe your reaction. Observe the emotions that come up, because you might feel very angry, very frustrated, confused, and maybe defeated in some way, or sad. And all of these emotions are information for you to learn about yourself and learn about where you are at in your journey, in your progress. For example, it might somebody very clearly not perceiving you as the person, well, not recognizing that you have grown. It might bother you because somewhere inside you still perceive yourself like the old version of you. Maybe it's absolutely a reflection of how you see yourself. And I'm not talking about the surface. I know that on the surface level, you know that you are working towards bettering yourself. You know, you can see you're with yourself every single day. You see the work that you're doing at the surface level, but I'm talking about the deeper level, maybe the unconscious level, or really like at the back of your head. Maybe there's a part of you at the back of your head that is not so sure, and maybe this part of you is waiting to see those very clear results, as if you were to do an exam. It's as if that person of you, until they get a score of 100%, then they believe, oh, we're not that person yet. Even if you get 90% grade, that side of you sees the 10% that might be triggers that came up this month. Old behaviors and old patterns that came up, and because it sees that 10%, it says, oh no, see, no, we didn't get 100%. That means that we're not this new version of ourselves. We're still somewhere inside. We're still the old version of us. And it's very important to be careful with that, because first of all, if you don't see yourself like the person you are today, then how is anybody else going to perceive you that way? If you perceive yourself as the old version of you, of course, there's a very high chance that other people are going to perceive you that way. If you want to sell something, you have to buy it yourself first. And it doesn't mean that you want to sell this image of you growing and of you achieving goals and all of that. It's not, you're really doing it for yourself, but I mean that you need to really adopt everything that you're working towards, and you need to have this belief that you are this new person, because again, you are with yourself every single day. You see yourself working on this. So why aren't you convinced that you are this new version of yourself, or you have grown? If it's the case, if you feel that there might be a part of you that still perceives you as the old version of you, work on that. Ask yourself why, and work with yourself to let go of that. Let go of it. Let go of that old perception of yourself, and fully commit to believing in yourself 100%, even if you were to pass on an exam and get 90%, still commit to having this belief in the 90%. 90% is so much more than 10%. Why are you so focused on the 10%? Anyways, and to go back to what I was saying earlier, another reason why maybe it bothers you so much that somebody would perceive you as the old version of you, maybe it's because even if you don't necessarily perceive yourself that way, maybe let's say you really don't perceive yourself as the old version of you, you're really committing 100% to believing in yourself, and with everything that you're doing, that you're seeing yourself do and work on, you're absolutely believing that you have grown and you have evolved and you're this new version of yourself. Maybe it bothers you that somebody doesn't see that, because you know that you're not exactly where you would want to be. Maybe you are aware that you're not at the 100%. Again, you might be at the 90%, which is very, very good, by the way. It's very good. But maybe just the fact that, you still have in mind that you have a 10% left, and that's not negative. It's not a negative thing. It's still good. It's okay to still have work to do to get to where you really want to be. And, okay, maybe in your day-to-day life, when you're implementing these new beliefs and these new behaviors, you're really focusing on the the 90%, and you're keeping in mind this 10% in a way that, well, you're keeping it in mind to motivate you to continue to move forward, to get to 91%, after that 92%, right? So maybe the fact that somebody is pointing out, or maybe not pointing out, is obviously not perceiving you as this new version of you, maybe it bothers you so much because you know that you're not at the 100% yet. And it's kind of like if you're working on a project and it's not completely done, and maybe someone sees it and then they point out the lacks and maybe the what is missing, and it's annoying because you're like, I know that there are things missing. I know that it's not complete. I'm not done with it. And even though you know that they're not judging the 100%, they're not judging the final product, it can still be very frustrating to have somebody criticize you like that. Criticize your project while it's not in its final phase, and you want so bad to let the person know that it's not the final product. It's, I will work on it again. It's just, it can be very, I think maybe it can be very bothersome to have somebody judge you before before you're even done with your project and with yourself. So that might be another reason why it bothers you so much. And and a third reason that I'm thinking that might explain why you're so triggered by somebody not perceiving you as the old version of you, is that maybe it's frustrating because, you know what, maybe you do see yourself as the old version of you. Maybe you have no part of yourself that still sees you as the old version of you. And maybe you do see yourself at the 100% mark. And even though triggers come back and old beliefs and old behaviors come back, maybe you know that these are just behaviors and beliefs that are fighting to survive. That's why they're coming back online. But maybe you do know that you're at the 100% mark. So then why are you so bothered by somebody not perceiving you that way, perceiving you at the 100% mark? When I'm thinking that sometimes it's really just about somebody not seeing what you see and pointing it out and critiquing it. And it can be really just that. It's really annoying because you would want to grab your set of eyes and put them on in their face, or maybe your glasses, let's say. Take off your glasses and put them on their face to show them what you see. And what I want to say about that is that, first of all, it's not... What is important is not for somebody else to see your growth and to see what you see. What is important is for you to see yourself. It's for you to see your growth. It's for you to celebrate and recognize your growth and the work that you have done. And if somebody doesn't see that, it's separate from you. It's separate, completely separate from you. Some people will see you and some people won't. And that is okay. And if in the moment you experience somebody not seeing you and you are bothered because even though you know you're at the 100 oh my god, even though you know that you're at the 100% mark, and even though you don't have any issues with perceiving you as yourself today, not perceiving you as the old version of you, even if all of that is true and you still get triggered and still annoys you so much, and it it it's frustrating for you to have somebody not see you for who you are today, use that frustration and anger to propel you forward. Because in the moment, you might be thinking thoughts along the lines of what is this person on about? What are they not seeing? I have worked for years to better myself. 1 year ago, I was struggling with this thing, and today I am not struggling with it anymore. Back then, years ago, I had X amount of limiting beliefs and I had X amount of unhealthy behaviors, and look at me today, I don't have them anymore. Or I have way less. Back then, I used to act out of a lot of trauma, and today I'm not anymore, or I'm acting out of a lot less trauma. If you get okay, if you like I said, use your frustration and anger to propel you forward. What I mean by that is even go on a rant. Go on a rant of reasons why you have grown, of reasons that prove that you have progressed and you are not the old version of you anymore. So take the focus away from the fact that somebody is not seeing you. If you're gonna ruminate on something or go on a rant, don't let it be on somebody not seeing you and oh, this person doesn't see me, like why, like am I doing this wrong, like I've done all this work, why doesn't it show? Instead of ranting about that and ruminating about that, bring your attention to what I just said about all of the reasons that prove that you are a new version of yourself and you have grown and you have evolved and grown, because that's what matters. That is the only thing that matters. And doing that as an exercise not only is going to make you feel way better, but it's also going to it really closes the loop to what I was saying at the beginning about you need to be the one to recognize your own growth. And going on a rant about all the reasons that prove that you have grown is you recognizing your growth and celebrating your growth. And it's never about telling people all of that, sharing your rants with anybody. It's really an exercise to do with yourself, to back yourself up within yourself. And even after doing all of that with yourself and continuing to walk with your head up and fully believing that you have grown, even if people are still stuck in the past, meaning they still perceive you as the old version of you, that's okay. It's okay. Be okay with the fact that some people won't, I don't want to say some people will never see you as the version of you today, because I do believe that there's, when you really do the work, it does show, and sometimes people take a while to notice it. But not everybody's gonna see you at the same time. And if people, again, are stuck in the past, don't let it stop you from moving forward. If people are not ready to come with you on this next chapter of you being this new healthy version of yourself, it's okay. Let them stay in the past and you move on to the next chapter. And eventually, on their own time, they will follow you to the next chapter or not. And that's okay. And also, tell yourself that, when somebody very clearly still sees you as the old version of you, and they're really clearly stuck in the past. Maybe not in their own life. Maybe in their own life they are evolving and they are growing, but when it comes to you, maybe they are stuck in the past with the old version of you. Remind yourself that, again, all of that is really separate from you. And even if they were to come, they're in your house, or they're in front of you, and they really don't see you. Remind yourself that after, they're gonna go home to their own life, to back to their own growth, themselves. And their life doesn't revolve around you, and your life doesn't revolve around them. Your lives are really separate, and they're allowed to have their own perception. They have their own perceptions of the world and of themselves and of you. And you have your own perceptions of the world, of yourself, and of them. So just, I feel that maybe when that happens, we tend to see it as a threat, as if it was a threat to our own growth. But just remind yourself that it's not. It's really not. Somebody perceiving you as the old version of you has nothing to do with your own growth. And like I said earlier, sometimes it does have something to say about the way that you perceive yourself, but it doesn't have anything to say about the work that you've been putting in. Because again, you know that you've been putting in the work. You see yourself every day working on yourself, and that's what matters. Don't let somebody still perceiving you as the old version of you stop you from moving forward, and use this whole experience as information and as a prompt to do the exercises that I talked about. And just use it as a test, use it as an exercise, and then continue to move forward.